And hello again. Well, for everyone watching live, replay, or listening to the podcast version of this, welcome again to another episode of Thru Autistic Guys. I am your host, Christopher D. Casson. I can't believe I had to say this line because he got it in my head, but some call me the autistic guru because, some people think of my wisdom. And right now, we're not here for my wisdom. We're here for my guest here for today, Jimmy Clare, who is a Autism Advocate, motivational speaker, author, and founder of CrazyFitnessGuy, which is a website and podcast that helps to motivate people to live more healthier lives, mainly in the lines of how to get started or stay motivated to persevere through it, and also discusses other topics such as self-help, autism, and how to manage stress, for example. And I've also noticed that in your own about you also done quite a lot of workout programs such as the P90X twice, Lift 4 twice, 80-Day Obsession, Body Beast, Transform 20, T-Focus 25, and Morning Meltdown 100, which right now it's making me feel like I'm probably like a stick figure in comparison to you. So I'm just wondering, how exactly do you get all that energy to do this?
Well, let's just say working out is kind of like my coffee in the morning. I mean, I don't have coffee. I don't drink coffee. I tasted it before. Not a big fan.
I wasn't either when I tasted at 6 years old, but later on it just caught on, and I drink too much coffee, which my taste buds like, but my digestive apparently doesn't eventually. So yeah. So anyway, to get on to learning more about health and fitness, and especially with Crazy Fitness Guy, what made you decide on the direction of health and fitness along with autism in the first place? What's the backstory of it? Your own personal experience that led you to this point?
Well, basically, growing up, I was told I wouldn't be able to do so many different things. For instance, I wouldn't be able to read higher than a second grade level. And when I was diagnosed, I'd say I was in third grade. My mom says fourth grade, but I have a better memory. And and they just list so many different things that I wouldn't be able to do because I'm autistic. And so from the get-go, people were just putting limits on me because I learn differently, and it's totally unfair. And then after 8 years of bullying, my school district didn't know how to give me the support I needed. I had to pretty much fight for every little nook and cranny. And my parents helped along the way. They were pretty much my voice for me during elementary school, middle school, some high school, until I got into, I think, around 12th grade, I guess, I'm going to say. And then I found my own voice. And then when I started to speak for myself, I said, for instance, my first IEP meeting I went to, which stands for Individual Educational Plan. And my first IEP meeting I went to in 11th grade. I was not allowed to talk in my own meeting, even though the meeting was about me. And I'm like, I can't talk to him during my own meeting. She's like, no. I made it crystal clear that I was really pissed off after the meeting, because all I kept on, I was at the head of the table. Picture this, a nice meeting room, long table. I was sitting at the head of the table, and I was watching two political parties back and forth, boom, 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 boom. And I'm just there.
Yeah, it's like, and all the discuss about you, and yet for some reason, you aren't allowed to have a say in it.
Yeah, and so basically, how So, but then fast forward, still had to, uh, when I enrolled in college, I'm still in college, but I enrolled in it. Uh, I had to basically be my own advocate because nobody wants to, no offense to my mom or anything, but who wants to bring their mom to campus?
Well, you just wanted to be more independent, really.
Yeah,
Because that was kind of the same thing with me when I went to college. There was like, hey, you could get teachers A to follow you around. And I was like, I'm old enough to try it myself for a change. I mean, come on, I'm not on the severe end of autism or anything like that. I'm more along the lines of Asperger's syndrome, but yeah, I can understand that.
yeah. And so when I enrolled, I had to figure out all these ways to request my accommodations every single semester, which it gets very old after a while because I feel like they're always asking me, "Are you still autistic?" And I know they're not really meaning to, but sometimes I feel like that's implied. Um, and and then it got me the idea, and it's like, no one should have to go through all the hell I went through of 8 years of bullying, a school district that did not know how to give me the support I needed, and I had to fight, pretty much claw my way through to graduation because I absolutely hated public school. And
Same here.
and so basically I wanted to help people, and it's like, no one should have to go through all of this crap. And it's like it should just, I was like, it should be, it's like, hey, here's what we can provide you, here's what we could try to get you, or here's what we can offer you, and everything else. Uh, and I'm like, this needs to, and it's like somebody needs to bring light to this, and I don't feel like the, and excuse me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't know how many advocates out there in the world, but no one's autism journey is ever the same. No one's experience is the same. So I was like, well, more the merrier. As
So
maybe one day,
I would say similar yet different, like their own kind of flavor.
yeah. And like, but maybe one day we'll have enough of advocates that covers everything. And one of my friends at karate, who's also on the spectrum, he said to me, and it's like, perhaps it's not even a spectrum anymore. What if it's a spider web? It's like, think about it. You could have autism in the middle. Just picture this, and then everything that goes on the spectrum is now branching off of autism, and that way you don't run out, because eventually you think a spectrum, it will get so freaking long, and it's like, does this keep going on infinity? At least a spider web, at least you can start building off of it, versus like, how does this go?
Yeah, I think that I'm trying to remember what they call this one type of chart, but it's like a circle. You have the character name, and then you have all these different traits around it. And it's like some have more of this trait or less of this trait, and others have that same trait but a little bit more than the other person. I kind of think of it more like that. With
Like a mind
autism.
map?
Oh, this is gonna like drive me nuts all night trying to figure out what the name of it is, but yeah, I remember it's usually used for like character stat sheets for like RPGs or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, so basically I created the Crazy Fitness Guy as a brand for people to share their unique stories. I had people who were on my podcast who's autistic, but also people with other extra challenges, and then also entrepreneur. And I kind of made the topics broad, just so that it always keeps me engaged and keep me coming back for more, and my audience to come back for more. And you never know what you get next, the following month to the next month to this. You might sometimes even get two in a month, depending how things are going. And So it is like, wow, I want to give people great content and inspiring stories to show that just because you're diagnosed with autism or something else doesn't mean it's literally the end of the world.
Yeah. And I remember you also included like health and fitness, because that's what you do in part of your own journeys. And I'm kind of wondering, what made you think about using a podcast platform for your message? And as you were developing this brand and the podcast and the website, what were maybe some of the earlier mistakes when you're going forward with, okay, I'm going to go for Autism Advocate, and how did you overcome those from your experience?
Well, my earlier mistakes, before I get to the mistakes part, I started the podcast in 2020, smack down right in the middle of the pandemic. I don't think the middle. Let's say towards the beginning of the pandemic, like it was April 12th, 2020, and I was because I want to be a motivational speaker and autism advocate. I was like, how am I going to get my message out there when everything is freaking online? And my teacher at the time, my professor at the time, excuse me, she said to me, like, Jimmy, you need to start a podcast. I was so flipping overwhelmed at the time because of the pandemic, but then also so many other things I do, running the website and everything, just because it's not all, oh yeah, you can just put content on a website and it just magically works, because it doesn't do that.
There's a lot more work involved.
Yeah, too much involved, marketing, this, that. And I wear many different hats, probably like 7 or 8, maybe 10. And when she suggested that to me, I was like, are you cuckoo in your head? I mean, I didn't say that. And even if I did, I mean, she knows my sense of humor, so it's not like I was not trying to be totally rude or anything, but I was like, are you nuts? I was like, on all the stuff I do, I was like, how am I supposed to flip and manage that? I was like, taking 2 classes at once, doing this, doing that. I was like, I can't do it all. And so, but then I realized, it's like, when I went on my, let's say my 3rd podcast interview, somebody was using this platform. I'm not going to name the platform because then it just sounds like I'm advertising it, and I'm not with them anymore. So, but that person basically, like, like in some of those like bottom of their post or something, it's like powered by or whatever.
Yeah.
And, well, I looked at that like a sign for it's time to start your podcast, because I know I could have Googled it and it's like different podcast platforms, but because I was so overwhelmed in my mind with all the other things going on.
Yeah, too many choices to choose from.
And so basically, when this platform came to me, it was like handed on a silver platter to me. I mean, the person didn't tell me about it, but I saw in the footer of the description and everything. It's like, yeah, this is a sign for me to let's go start. And it's like, so my first mistake was not having a microphone. And I don't have a microphone right now. I mean, I did, but this was my first microphone, and for my first, not my first podcast. I mean, not my first podcast interview, but it was for a convention that was right before Christmas time, and this is the only brand that was going to give me one right before the event. So I was like, crap. And I'm not going to show the brand name because it's a plug and play mic, meaning that it just works by plugging in. There's no settings to it.
Mhm.
But I'm not bashing the brand because, it still works. It doesn't always work with different applications and everything, but that's technology for you.
Yeah, you want to know what? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
But so basically, that was my first mistake.
Mm.
And my audio wasn't very clear, so it sounded like I was far away. But now when I got into podcast editing stuff, all the nitty gritty things, it was basically I knew how to raise the volume even if I wasn't talking loud enough in a microphone. So, but I mean, it was loud enough where it's not disoriented and everything else, and so, but it was all coming together, and but I still wasn't at the spot where I wanted to be, and then I just got better at becoming, but then when I found out different time management stuff and skills and basically
Creating a system.
everything. What?
Kind of like creating a system of processes and procedures so it doesn't get so overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically I was able to start prioritizing. It's like enough of this admin crap at the back end of my website, because that's what's taking a lot of time. Because it's like, well, what works with this and what works with that? And let me take one detour away from the story. Like today, I'm still kind of tackling on my vacation break, but one of my third-party tools that I use on my website to show all my social media accounts in one place, like a social media wall. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently they were getting rid of the free plan thanks to Elon Musk for their Twitter API paying, subscribing for, and companies can't afford it. I'm not going on a rant or anything, but my point is I was overwhelmed by it, and I was all ticked off all day long. Not just because of that, but Facebook. One of my Facebook apps was just breaking and everything. So I was like, I am all over the place. I am overwhelmed, and so now that I kind of have a plan going forward, and my podcast. And I figured out how to manage my time, manage my priorities, and so even though some of the admin stuff pop up here and there, I was like, at least I have a day where it's like admin task only. Everything else, I was like, there's only one day of admin tasks, which starts on Monday, because that always seems like the day where everything just goes hell in a handbag anyway.
Yeah, so you might as well utilize the time more efficiently. Yeah. So,
and again, not being negative, I'm just all I'm just saying, just pointing out the obvious for me. And it's like it's not negative if it's true.
And you know what my first mic was?
What?
It's this.
Yikes!
Just Apple EarPods. That's all I had at the time. So. And I was just start off with live streaming on Facebook. I didn't really intend to it to become a podcast, but hey, here we go. So anyway, and you decided to call it CrazyFitnessGuy, which, when you began with the whole autism advocacy thing, it led me wondering what made you choose that for a podcast name, and after that we'll just get more into a little bit on the health side of things, since that is what it mainly is about, along with the autism and how it relates. So
the reason why I chose the brand, but basically the reason why I chose to use my brand name from my website to my podcast is because since Apple can do it, since Google can do it, since all the other top brands in the world can brand name Google this, do this, and it's like, well, I can do the same damn thing. and I was like, simple as enough. And it's like, it's not like I'm cheating. It's like, it's just being a smart marketer. And I didn't want to be about Jimmy Clare's podcast because, it's not like I'm Tony Robbins. It's not like I'm Lewis Howes. It's not like I'm Temple Grandin. Because at least like, oh, they've been around long and they've been like,
Well, technically, well, I'm going to interject here saying, they all started where you were at the beginning, so I wouldn't say you may not be now, but you could be later. But at the same time, I also believe you would like the brand to continue on even after, that final day comes, and it keeps continuing to inspire, right?
Yeah, even if it didn't continue for like years to come, like 100+ year old brand or whatever, but I didn't want to be focused all around me. I mean, I don't mind sharing, like if you went on to CrazyFitnessGuy.com today, on the articles, there's bits and pieces of like my autism, and it like just like from my perspective here and there and everywhere else. It's always my bread and butter. I always keep coming back to it. There's always hints in there in the podcast, even in the live stream that I do every week, except for the last 2 weeks. I mean, this weekend and last week. And but it's all there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to share my message, but I don't want it to just be involved around me. I want to involve around a big community of crazy fitness. And it's like, even if somebody's not in shape, their story inspires me. I want to have them on the show to share their story. It's like I said, it's not geared towards like, oh, this is another fitness podcast. It's like, no, there's fitness involved because I have some personal trainers, but it's not the main focus.
Right. And now you're part of that. And what was I gonna? So yeah. Now that we're talking about, we're getting started. So, how, from your experience and from everyone you've talked to, what would be how would one get started from going from being a couch potato position to really being full on into fitness, despite any challenges they might face? Because I remember reading up on you saying that you also have a spinal stenosis. So I guess on top of that, what exactly is spinal stenosis?
Okay, so I'm going to answer the spinal stenosis one first. Just as I will just keep my memory going. I mean, but so my basically spinal stenosis is I have it in the very top part of my neck. It's something you're born with, and basically it's hard to turn my head left and right. So, like if you want to turn your head left or right, you can easily turn it without any problem. Like mine stops right here. Yours, at least, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
You can turn all the way. Where mine, that's all I got.
Yeah. So basically, like with, for example, in Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton with the Batman costume, with the way they had the mask on, he literally could not turn his head because of that mask. So he had to turn his whole body around.
Yep, that's me. And so, and basically, if I get experience any whiplash from, let's say, if I was in a car accident or some kind of crash or just anything, I could be paralyzed from the head down for the rest of my life. So I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It sucks, and I'm constantly reminded about it, especially there's mornings where sometimes I sleep on it wrong, and then I get up and it's like, oh, my neck is extra stiff today. I was like, oh, this sucks. And I mean, and I'm not always like, sometimes I'm not always negative about it. Sometimes I'll just like, it is what it is. But then sometimes it's just like really bad, and it's like, okay,
testing the limits.
I know God doesn't make mistakes, but I was like, I can deal with the autism, I can deal with the inward pointing knees, and it's like, and if I had the spinal stenosis in like the lower part of my back, I was like, okay, it would be still a little severe, but maybe it could be fixable. Where it is, it's not fixable at all. It's like the last time when I saw a neck doctor, and I admit long overdue, but the pandemic happened and my insurance happened, and I had to find a new doctor thanks to my lovely insurance provider. And so basically, I could have lived without the spinal stenosis, or at least be in a different part of my of my spine versus the very top part. So, but one of the, so basically, how I got into fitness was when I was getting bullied. I was nearly obese for my age group, and I think the obese line was around 180-ish, maybe a little bit one over there. I'm sure it's changed now. This was like 2000. I'm gonna say 2007, 2006. Yeah, let's say around there. And basically, because I was nearly obese for my age group, my doctor said you need to lose some weight. And he basically said it bluntly like that. And it's like, it wouldn't kill you to lose a few pounds. It's like, thanks, doc. I appreciate it.
Could have been more nicer, but still the same message.
Yeah, and basically, me and my dad were watching an info commercial one night, and we saw this program called P90X, and my parents tried to hire me a personal trainer that I didn't care for. And not to be rude or anything, but the guy was a little bit heavy himself. And I'm not like poking fun at him or anything, but I always feel like
you would just assume
and doctors should be in shape. It's like let's just say theoretically, a doctor says to you, quit smoking, it's very bad for you, but then they go outside and have a cigarette themselves.
Or they go vape.
Yeah, or go vape and everything. And again, not picking on anybody. I didn't say anything specific. I said a doctor or a trainer or somebody else.
We're just doing an example here. Examples.
And I just feel like those people in this profession should be in shape so that and practice what they preach. But I don't know what happened to the person because he never came back to the house. I don't know if my parents fired the person, or he just, I don't know. I didn't really care at the time because I wasn't into fitness at the time. But then when me and my dad found P90X, I lost 30 pounds with it. And I didn't know I had muscles at all. I mean, I figured I had something because how can my body stand if I didn't have anything? Mm-hmm. But my point is like, I was all flab. I had like, it was just, I wish I had a good, I had a picture, but I don't know where it is at the moment. I think it's still my Shutterfly account. I got to get rid of that annoying account. But
basically, what inspired you to really get off of that was just someone just being upfront with you. Hey, you really lose some weight, and your health is at risk.
Yeah.
So.
And then also my therapist at the time, not naming any names, we had a falling out, and because she had me on this medication, and I hate medication, probably because of this reason, and I'll show it to you why. It was because she kind of, the saying, she kind of like play with fire a little bit. Well, I felt like it was a buildup over time, and I didn't know what she was doing until when I was in my teen years, or maybe when I was in my early 20s. I forget when I kind of stopped seeing her, but she was a psychiatrist, and she basically, let's say, for instance, like if I was having a bad day at school, she wrote up my medication, and then if I had a good day for X amount of time, she would lower my medication. And I mean, I know she was trying to leave me off, but then during the summer months, if I didn't have a job right away because I was still applying for like a part-time job to earn some money, she's like, well, until you get a part-time job, you're not getting anything lower, and I'll just bump you up and whatnot. And I didn't like that. It's like
turning into an addict or something to medication.
Yeah, and she just kept on going up and down and up and down.
And you just wanted to be off of the medication at that
point.
Yeah.
And so I got off the medication. I'll admit, let's just say I didn't do it the smartest way or the safest way. Mm-hmm. One night, me and my dad was in his office at home, and I asked him, like, my mom was on the trip with her sisters and her mom, which is my grandma, and I asked my dad, and I was like, hey Dad, can I get off this medication? Because it's like if I want to feel happy, I want to feel happy. If I want to feel sad, I want to feel sad. If I want to be angry, well, I mean, it's not like I look to be angry, but if I want to be angry, I want to be angry. This medication, if you ever saw the movie The Joker, like the newer version, where there's one point where he was smiling like this when he's like, and so
you just wanted to be able to you wanted to be able to just decide on these feelings instead of a medication deciding for you.
Yeah, and this thing was just masking my feelings, like where I'm like here, and my brain's like, screw you.
So and eventually it's basically, so what I'm getting for you with the question pertaining to this of how to get off of that position of taking off is you just need to, you can have all this encouragement, but eventually it just comes down to you just deciding that you want to do better, or deciding you want to go a different direction and actually go through with it, right?
Yeah, and also, like, because I had a lot of autism meltdowns when I was younger, fitness has helped me to stay level-headed. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's 100% bulletproof, because I still have my days. Like today, I feel like I have one building up, but then what I did before I came on with you, I had my dinner, but then also, like, pretty much I figured out one of my issues at like 5:30ish. So when I figured it out, I was like, I could have done this one. I'm working on a secret project, and I'm not going to share it with you. Not to be rude or anything, but
that's fine.
I'm not done. Once it's done, I'll share it with everyone, but I don't need any of that pressure, please. But they, instead of working on it, I was like, you know what? Let's do it tomorrow. I'm walking away. I shut my computer. I kept that on because I know it's coming on here and everything. Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go, like, stretch out my, do some stretching, foam rolling, listen to some music on my Google Home Mini in my room. I was like, but I need to walk the hell away from this computer because I'm going to put my foot through it pretty soon. I mean, I'm not a violent person, but
it's just a
technology was
matter of
pissing me off today.
so it's just a matter of not only getting off the couch and actually doing it, but also remembering that it is okay to reward yourself, but also what was it going? Yeah, it's okay to reward yourself with relaxing too, but the problem with a lot of people is they do it too much, like Netflix and chill and all that other weird stuff. So.
Well, I was actually considering going on one of my online games because it's my vacation week, but I was like, well, I have this interview in like 45 minutes, and and I have dinner too. So I was like,
Yeah,
I'll
matter
just
of
get on. Like,
prioritization.
yeah, and so I was like, I'll just get on for like an hour and 30 minutes after it. And it's like, because I got my night mode on my computer and I got my night mode on my Chromebook. So it's like, not going to throw my sleep off because I'm not getting into blue light. So it's like, you know what? It's good. I'm just walking away. I'll wait to do anything electronic or video game related until after. And it's like,
Yeah, just for your mental health, which is also another aspect of Crazy Fitness Guy, just the mental health issue that seems to be swept under the rug, and especially with, I remember reading this statistic of how people on the autistic spectrum where the number one cause of death was like suicide. So it's only, I remember reading that somewhere. I wish I could find the article. I think it was like some European article, but for a study, but yeah, and fitness does help with being able to get all the agitation out as well. So that's another thing.
And also, just to add to that, it doesn't, like I said, it's not always bulletproof. Sometimes I don't take enough breaks, and then I'm all bent out of shape. Like for instance, the week before I was going on break for 2 weeks, I was going. There was this. Uh, I I was trying to get this one project done, well, two projects to be exact, but then one of them I realized it was not going to happen, so I switched over to this other one. I was a few days late on my vacation. I finally finished the project, and I was technically supposed to be back in Pennsylvania this week, but then I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna take one more break, and because I'm gonna take another break in uh, August. But my point is that I it's my point being sometimes I don't always take the breaks that I need for when I'm working very hard on some task and I'm trying to teach myself a better habit. So by doing that today, I was like,
you're just
I'm
trying to
doing
get yourself motivated again, which
yeah.
again, another part of it. So, what is your best advice for being able to get back on the horse per se, and just being able to get motivated to push forward with like a new mindset, a new lifestyle, and even just moving forward with the project, even though you mentally feel like, I don't want to do this, please, no.
Well, funny thing you say that because the project that I was working on was, uh, no one judged me on this because this was totally by mistake and not like I do it on purpose and like, oh, what. Basically, what happened in my intro and outro, I bought this um, licensed music that was supposed to be from a legitimate place because I got a lifetime code or usage or plan, whatever, from this app marketplace. I'm not throwing them under the bus because they gave me my money back in credits to get a different tool. But basically, what happened? This company, let's say, that music company was fake and everything because I had all these copyright things on my YouTube. It was
and it
not,
could be it could feel rather demoralizing. So
Yeah, and it was not like
so after that, how exactly, did you get back to being motivated again?
well, so basically what happened was basically the uh, I it was not technically like strikes against my YouTube channel but it could potentially hurt it once I got to the monetization part of it, and I was like, I don't like. I feel like I was cheated and whatnot, and I was totally ticked off. And but so basically, what I had to do was take everything that I had on 48 episodes at the time, and then my premium podcast, which has 21 episodes. I had to cut every intro and outro out and replace it, re-upload it again.
So basically, instead of just feeling inferior, you just look at a different perspective of, okay, the solution really is simple. It's not as complex that we tend to make in our minds, kind of thing.
Well,
so
yeah,
it's really simple, which means, you could just push yourself forward. Okay, I really don't like this, but you know what? I'll just push through it and it'll be better for it.
yeah, but then I also kept in mind that my vacation was right around the corner, and also I was like, I like podcast editing. But I think the thing I hate the most is always having to change something, not like in a bad change, but having to clean up some other company's mess that was left because of them. I mean, because one of their features was like, oh, we protect your channel against copyright claims. It's like, you did a swell of a job.
Well, it just is what it is. You just gotta keep moving forward. And kind of going back to the health topics, since that's essentially what Crazy Fitness Guy, what you're doing, the video editing and all that for. What are some tips you could give for autistics that want to go into health? Because I remember one of my previous guests, Paul, mentioned about how that autists, I'm trying to remember the reason, but autistics require a bit more maintenance with their bodies than the typical person. So say, for example, with gut health, I remember reading online for a very, very much earlier episode is that for some reason autistics have more bad bacteria than good bacteria in comparison to the typical person for some odd reason. So what are your helps what are your tips from everything you experienced growing up with spinal stenosis or anything else you might have went through, or even just recovery from doing fitness and some whatever martial arts with recovery of the muscles? What are your advice for what autistics can do?
Well, one of the things I've learned about working out is that you don't need a fancy gym. Not bashing any gyms. If you want to go to a gym, go to a gym. But like for me, I use this platform called Fit On. I do not make any money from any advertisements. I wish I did. But it's a free platform. I pay for I got the membership on and membership price because sometimes my internet can be very annoyingly spotty at times. And so basically so I can download some stuff offline, or if I'm out visiting my cousins in Chicago and everything else, I can just download it versus, is this thing ready to load yet? No. But you don't always need a fancy gym. Do what you want to do. You can work out at home. Like, for instance, this room I'm in right now, my bedroom, not big at all. The only thing that's in my room is basically this card table desk that's kind of my desk. my bed,
Mm.
a closet over there,
So
and a door.
basically what you're saying is, some people feel like, okay, fitness, I absolutely have to go to a gym. And you're saying that not necessarily. You can start right at your home, as a lot of people end up finding out during the whole shutdown in 2020.
And this is full of exercise bands.
Mhm.
I got this off of Amazon, the exercise bands. And what's cool, they have all increments of different weight of bands. So it's not just like each individual band, like 20 pounds, and like it's like that, but it only comes one pair of handles. But it's an attachment for, so if you want it super heavy, you could put all of them on, or if you just want 35, you can put the 25 and a 10 on. And basically, you don't need a gym. It's like I work out with bands. Plus, you can't cheat with them. I tried, and it's really tough. And
So you're saying bands could be like a good beginning start for someone that's, just starting to get into the whole fitness routine.
yeah, and it's like you don't, and like resistant bands still form muscles. They
Kind of like calisthenics in a way.
yeah,
Utilizing your own body.
yeah, and like you don't need any of those huge fancy machines. I do body weight exercises as well. I do push-ups, but like a lot of stuff on Fit On. They do a lot of. I mean, they have like body weights, but they also have weights as well. But a lot of stuff that they do with weights, you can do with the resistant bands and everything. Okay, probably not. Maybe a few exercises you can't, but then you just do body weight. And every time my dad comes home from the gym saying, "Oh, I couldn't get on this machine, I couldn't do that," I was part of a gym once, maybe once or twice, and it was it was like 1 or 2 years I was there, but it got annoying after a while because it's like, I can't use this machine because this person's there. This guy has like 20 other
Well,
sets
it also depends on what time you go to the gym, since the like certain periods from my experience of going to the gym a couple of times, that some time areas there's always a lot more people than typical, and then others there's like barely anyone there. So it's managing the schedule in that way.
Yeah, you're right. But like for me, I like by working out online and everything in my own home or wherever I am. Nice part is like if I want to work out, I can work out right now. I can work out here. I can work out there. I can do it anywhere. I don't need no stinky gym. No offense to any gyms, but for me, I don't want to be held down to. I have to go drive 20 minutes away. Gotta drive 20 minutes back.
You just want to do something that's immediate, so that while you're in the moment of feeling inspired and motivated to do it, you could just do it right there. Whereas if you're going to the gym, if you could stay motivated while driving there, great. Maybe like listen to like a podcast or something, like Crazy Fitness Guy Podcast, hint, hint. But at the same time, that long drive could really demotivate you, and you doing it half attempt rather than a full attempt immediately when at home. Is that what I'm getting?
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, let's see. Okay, we're getting close to the wire, but and I don't know. This happens sometimes. Sometimes my mind just freezes on me in the middle.
Take your time. I'm not going anywhere tonight, so.
Okay, but I also remember you mentioning that your parents' involvement, not only with growing up, but from the sound of it, with your father going to the gym, that maybe that could be also part of the inspiration. So I'm curious on what was the importance of your parents' involvement being more fit? And do you believe that was a big influence to you making that decision and direction with your health life, and maybe also kind of in an indirect way inspires you to do the podcast of teaching all this fitness stuff?
Well, basically, the importance of it all is that I had a very supportive. I have a very supportive family. My cousins never treated me differently. They joke with me. My aunts and uncles joke with me. They also sometimes can be annoying, but who
Well, we all get those.
too. I even annoy myself.
Yeah, we all
that's
get those.
impressive. And I've, my parents never used the word autism around me growing up. They never, if they used the word autism, it was when I was out of the house, I was with my friends, or I was with my cousins, but I was totally out of earshot. I was far, far away from if they ever used it, but they never only some specialists when I went to see them refer to. I wouldn't say they use autism, but they always use big words around me, like thinking that they're so flipping cool and everything. Again, I'm not like no doctors or anything, but it's like somebody like, oh, this person has some special at this and special at this, and like, screw your special this.
Yeah, you just wanted them to be upfront instead of like kind of
tiptoeing
around. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I appreciate my friends and family members who never treated me differently, because I don't know how I would be. I don't know where I would be today if they did that. And thankfully, I don't have to know.
Well, possibly in a way that you kind of use that almost as a hook of, you never becoming more than this label, which was what happened to me, really. So for a long time, but eventually I moved out of it. But it seems like that thanks to your own parents' involvement in that kind of way, which, well, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, so she took care of most of it while my father was too busy working in Chicago. But she just did her best to read books by Temple Grandin of what she could, and then she relayed that and the book to the special ed teacher, try to help me out the best she could. But yeah, so how did your parents get you involved with the fitness aspect after the doctor told you that you need to lose weight? Because I remember you reading about you getting into karate and how you're getting close to getting a black belt now.
Yeah, so what got me into the fitness was just seeing the info commercial of P90X, but after a while, after all the different Beachbody On Demand programs, and this year I actually canceled my Beachbody membership. But with karate, when I first in New Jersey, when I grew up, and I was taking Taekwondo at the time, and I really liked it because it was challenging, and I thought it was fun. And so I asked my parents, like, when we moved to Pennsylvania, I was like, I want to find something like this. Mm-hmm. And when I found Tiger Schulman's karate, I've been part of their family ever since. They're like my second and third family that I'm literally always there, except for these 2 weeks, but I'm literally always there. People, it's like, Jimmy, you're always here. And it's like, yeah, I sleep in the dumpster behind the building. It's like, I'm always here. It's like, I never leave.
So basically, another big thing to help you get motivated is just to, instead of viewing, fitness as work, you really need to focus on viewing fitness as a different type of fun, kind of like when you're playing as kids being rough in the yard and all that, kind of keeping that childlike perspective on it and kind of let your inner child out kind of thing.
And it also like gave me this discipline, the self-discipline, and also gives me the motivation, and also gives me extra challenges and hurdles to keep doing it, because like sometimes doing the same old workout program or some kind of other different program, because they all have the same a lot of them have the same type of exercises. They just change the name on it or might change it a little slightly to
like
make
a
it a little
modification.
but it's like I want that step for like it's one step higher each time, and karate just does it for me. It's like because like one of my other like friends / colleagues that are karate, he always said it's like there's a pattern in karate with the schedule. It's like we do the same thing three times a week if you're coming 3 times a week. But then and he thought there was a schedule. I mean, he always thought there was a pattern. But when I was trying to figure out to see it and paying close attention to see it, sometimes they change it on purpose. So it's like even if the
be on your toes.
The bags or something, bag training or something. It's like, we're doing something totally different this week, or the exercise or strength training at the end was something different or something else. And it's like, is he allowed to do this? It's like, I did not see this coming. And sometimes it can be a really good surprise, or if it's a really bad surprise, like burpees and half burpees. I hate half burpees. I can't even do it anymore because my inward pointing knees always keep pounding on each other. It's like, I'll do full burpees, but screw half burpees. I'm never doing them again. It hurt my knee.
You find what's comfortable, but at the same time kind of push you a little bit out of the comfort zone at the same time, because that's how muscle builds.
Yeah. And that's probably why I like motivational speaking so much and speaking in public, because when I did my 3 speeches in one day for my aunt's school, like the first time, I was a little nervous. The second time, I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling more comfortable. Third time, I was like, oh, I got this piece of cake. And
so it's just a matter of getting over that hurdle, and once you go over it, it starts to become easier, and you start wondering, why was I so worried about this in the first place? It's kind of the same thing of being able to push yourself towards adopting a different lifestyle, a fitness lifestyle, and a more healthy lifestyle, instead of settling for, like, say, just eating McDonald's while watching the news.
Yeah. My parents watch the news like religiously, and I'm like, every time when I told them to, it was like, fine, you can watch the news, but don't expect me to watch it with you. And it's like, if we're watching it, well, you can either record it because we have DVR, or I'm going upstairs and eat my food by myself.
Or just do a little bit of fitness, just to, let it all out, because that's another thing with fitness, letting off the steam. So we are getting to the top of the hour, and I really thank you so much for being able to share time with me with the podcast, and thank you, Robert, here in the comments, for joining us as well. And how can people, be able to learn more about you and your show, and even contact you if they want to know more information?
Best way to do so is go to CrazyFitnessGuy.com. And basically, that's the best place, because between me and Crazy Fitness Guy has over 100 plus profiles in total. I mean, not even in total, but like it could probably add up to 200 maybe, if you want to count all the podcast directories and everything else. And real quick fun fact about that: the reason why I did it this way was because when I shared a milestone, and this was before I even had my own profiles because I was still starting everything up and everything and wanted to know which direction to go to. And this was 5 years ago. And when
Yeah,
I
where you feel like you had to have a profile on every single social media just in case. But
well, basically what happened is that when I posted as my brand about a milestone, no one cared, no one congratulated me whatsoever, and then I decided, you know what, I need to step outside in front of my brand to show who's behind the brand and everything. And once I did that, people was like, "Oh, congratulations!" And it's like, "Oh, now you care." So, and I had this rule that it's like,
or they might have not seen it the first time because
yeah.
I've had that happen with me, so that's also a thing. But anyway,
but now I have a rule for myself. It's like there's no take backs. It's like what's there is what's there. If you want to keep adding it, go keep adding to it. I was like, but no getting rid of it. I mean, unless if it becomes banned and everything else from the U.S. and everything, then that's one thing.
Yeah.
But.
And of course, if you want to, for people watching or listening now or later in a replay or in the podcast, to learn more about me, of course, ChristopherCasson.com, and of course, my social media, which I haven't really participated as much in, but I'm looking to get back into the game, especially with my newsletter, Philosophy Through Photography newsletter, and of course, Thru Autistic Guys Podcast does have its own Facebook page and also a Patreon if you would like to be able to contribute so that we can keep the train going. So thank you again so much, Jimmy Clare. I hope you have an awesome day, and hopefully the meal was good. And tune in next time, folks. So take care, everyone.
See you.